Hello, this is a review of the GTX 980 video card from a sim racer's perspective. As if some of you may recall, about 2.5 years ago, I did a similar review with the GTX 680. I just sold that card recently as I wanted to go ahead and upgrade, and went ahead and got the GTX 980 Superclocked edition. The 680 I was running before only had 2 gigabytes of RAM. This card actually has 4, so uh, that that was a big appeal to me, just mainly because I do run the triple screens um, on my racing titles. Again, this is the Superclocked edition, the ACX 2.0, which is just an active cooling system. The card's already installed on my machine, so I won't pull it out and show you. But here's the connections on the back of the card. One thing I did run into on my 680 that had 2 DVI ports, a display port, and an HDMI port. They're basically, from what I understand, is phasing out the DVI ports. So there's only one DVI port on this particular card, and there's 3 display ports and 1 HDMI. The monitors I'm running are still the ones I've been using since my last review. They're Acer H223 23-inch monitors, nothing special, but they do have an HDMI and a DVI connection on them. So what I did is, all I had to do is I ran to my local computer store, Fry's Electronics, and picked up a display port to DVI connection. I'm sorry, DVI connection to DisplayPort connection, and that solved my issue. So I used two of the DVIs and one of the HDMIs basically on my monitors. Here's a quick picture. You can see this particular model has a couple different fans on it, so the temperature, from what I've experienced so far, I haven't had any overheating problems. And since my last video, I've also upgraded my rig. I was booted out of my man cave to make room for one of my daughter's bedrooms, so I got stuck in the corner of my bedroom here. So I did go ahead and pick up a Assetto Revolution cockpit, which is awesome. I mean, it's super stout, highly recommended. It was a little bit expensive, but well worth it, especially for somebody who races quite a bit and is going to spend a lot of time in it. Since my last video, like I said, I had a play seat. Now I've got the Assetto. Sorry, it's a little dark in this room. I do have the CSW version 2 wheel now. What else have I upgraded? I did get a Derek Spears Designs button box, and I'm still using my TH8RS shifter. Basher boards, John over there at Basher Boards hooked me up with a shift knob for it, so it's a little more realistic for the V8 supercars that I like to drive. Still running the same motherboard as last time. It's an Asus Maximus 4 Gen 3, I believe, i2500K, 16 gig of RAM, Windows 7. So those specs are the same for the most part. Obviously, I've just done the upgrade on the video card. The first title I'm going to look at here is RFactor 2. Using the current public build, version 880. Show you real quick what my settings are here. You can read that. So again, I'm running, actually I had that 5976 by 1080. I'll change that to 5760 by 1080. I did some bezel correction, so that's why that was that way. I have HDR and FXAA turned on. The video sync is off. Anti-aliasing is off. One thing I've noticed with this card is I'm only able to go up to level 4 on anti-aliasing. But with this card, what I've been finding is FXAA is very good, and it actually has improved the frame rates. Whereas if I check that off and use level 4 anti-aliasing, I get a little bit less frame rates. And then I do have multi-view checked. Some guys prefer it unchecked, but I know it does take a little bit of a hit to your frame rate with it checked, but it just helps the perspective on the side screens, in my opinion. So we'll go ahead and fire this up. And what I'm going to be running is the V8 Supercar. It's the FVR mod. It's still in development, but this is the 2012 version, so that version's pretty much finalized. And then I'm going to go ahead and use a ISI official track here, Silverstone, and I just want to show a couple, just a few seconds of the cars running around, and you can gauge what the frame rates are doing and what it looks like. In-game settings, you can see I have most everything turned on to full. With triple screens, even with this card, I find if I go higher max on my shadows, I don't really notice much improvement in the visuals, and it really hits my frame rate. So I've been running them at medium, shadow blur off, soft particles off. I don't really notice anything with them, and crowd motion, which I really don't really care too much about. So so go ahead and fire up the track here. Oh, with race settings, sorry, I'll be running at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's going to be 20 cars on the grid, and I'm going to be in position 8. Alright, it took about a minute to load the track. One thing I've noticed with RFactor 2, the first time you load a track, it takes quite a while, but then if you do exit out and you have to come back in, it loads a lot faster, from then on. I think it's, it's saving stuff to memory or something when you're first loading the track. So the settings for this track, for the HDR profile, I just am using automation. There's a couple of other ones that were set for previous builds, but I always use automation. That always looks the best in my opinion. So let's go ahead and give it a try here. Turn on the AI. Oops, turn that down a little bit. So at the start here, I'm at 55 frames. You can kind of see the left monitor there. As we get going, it goes down to about 53. So as I'm in traffic, I'm hovering between 53 to 60. One thing I've noticed, the frame rates don't go over 60 frames for me in triple screen. I don't have VSync on or anything currently. Up there, dipped down to about 51, 50, 49. There's a car right by me here, so as you're surrounded by cars, the frame rate will drop. But from what I've found, anything that's about 50 or above, I really, my eye can't tell much difference. The 60 definitely does, seems to be a little bit smoother, but even when you're surrounded by cars, if it dips to 50, it's never been a problem for me in racing. And I do have the track map plugin on here. I've tested it with it off before, and it really doesn't make any difference to your frame rates. So, and here you can see now that traffic's starting to spread out a little bit. We're in a section of the track that there's not a whole lot of scenery or anything. It's staying right at a solid 60 frames. Now if I go to the external cameras, it definitely dips it down a little bit. I'm getting 43, 42, 39. And you can see it does look a little bit choppy in triple screen when the cars are real close and there's a bunch of them around. But for me, I'm not going to be doing that while I'm racing, so I'm always just interested in what the frame rates are like in the cockpit view. I also know a lot of guys don't use that multi-view option, and that will improve frame rates. Not many of the titles are optimized. I think RFactor 2, obviously the original RFactor had that option. Assetto Corsa, you can adjust the settings on that so the side monitors look good. But for and iRacing as well, obviously. But for like Project Cars and I think RaceRoom Experience, which I haven't spent a lot of time with, you kind of get that distorted look on the side, which I haven't figured out a way, to correct that yet. So here's a quick example of it with the multi-view option unchecked. And here you can see at the starting line, I think we were at 55 with it checked, and here I'm at a solid 60. And I'll watching the rates as we're going here. It's staying at 60 the whole time. Right next to cars the whole time, it's staying real solid. You can kind of see, especially when a car goes by you, it elongates. Let's see if I can get a view of it. Of course I'm not. Oh, here comes one. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell in that perspective, but you can see how it does distort the side monitors. Some guys prefer this. It makes them feel like they're closer into the cockpit, but again, I prefer the multi-view option checked. But again, if you want better frame rates, it hasn't dipped at all on this. It's staying right at 60 the whole time. Same exact settings. Now with Assetto Corsa, this is version 1.09. It's a early release candidate because this is still in early access, but it looks like they're about ready to release it to the general public, or for everybody. It already is to the public, but they'll consider this an initial release here shortly. Just to kind of show you what settings I have here. Again, 1920 by 1080. I'm sorry, that should be 5760 by 1080 at 60 Hertz. Triple screen rendering, full screen rendering checked. Frame rate limit I turned off. You can kind of see what I've got all set there. This one I have the anti-aliasing turned on. World detail maximum. Again, shadows I set to medium. Again, I've found with my triple screens, anything above medium on some of these titles, it really hurts my frame rate and really doesn't give me that much more eye candy, in my opinion. Using the photographic preset and mirror resolution, all that. Reflection quality I do have set at medium as well. So anyway, here we'll also run Silverstone and the Ferrari 458. Load that up here. This one I'm going to have to drive one-handed with the camera in my hand because I don't know how to toggle the AI on and off, if that's even possible for this title. So this takes a few seconds to load up. Okay, try it here. At the very start I'm at 71 frames. At the very beginning it dips to about 38 with the smoke, with tire smoke really seems to affect it. Sorry, I'm trying to drive one-handed here. Now I'm at about 42, 44. It's a little bit choppy. Now it's back up to 80. So the biggest thing I'm finding with this title, is the special effects. Like I said, the smoke really kills the frame rate. But like right now I'm at 80, 90, 85 to 90, just kind of out here where we're not all bunched together. Sorry for the driving here. I'm trying to do two things at once, which the older I get, the more difficult that becomes. For some of you young folks, you'll understand one of these days. So anyway, that gives you an idea what that looks like. It runs really good, and what I would just recommend, and I haven't spent much time with the title, to be honest, and I'm sure I can mess around with some of the settings. It still looks amazing. The quality of the graphics on this are very good, and the lighting is excellent. But I think if maybe I turn down a couple things, some of the some of the special effects or something, that would probably really help with the frame rates when you're in a lot of traffic. So, but like I said, once you're out of that bunch, it's super smooth. Right there, kind of dipped at 50. So as cars are going by me. One thing I forgot to mention about Assetto Corsa is FXAA is not available in that title. I even checked the Nvidia control panel where you can set it outside the game, and it's not enabled for that title, so that's why I had to use those settings. I believe if they were able to support FXAA, I think I could probably get better frame rates, but we'll see what they do here as the title continues to be developed. This is the latest version of Project Cars. Here you can kind of see my settings, everything's set to high. You can go up to ultra, but again, I didn't see any big difference with that. Here I have FXAA set to medium. You can go all the way up to high, but just from what I've been seeing, the quality is outstanding with these settings in terms of the visual graphics. Here you can see I have how I have everything else turned on. So we'll jump into a quick race here. Same thing, I'll go with 20 AI. I'll start in 8th position, Silverstone in a Porsche GT3. And of all the titles, Project Cars just has the most stunning visual effects of any of them. Assetto Corsos are really good too, but Project Cars I think has it beat with its latest build. Okay, let's try it again. Start here where it kind of shows the cars, good 60 to 65 frames. And I'm trying to drive with one hand. This thing is so smooth right now. I'm at 65 frames, still going strong. 57. Back up to 65. I'm up to 78, 79. Car right next to me, I'm still at 70. Again, driving one-handed with a camera in my left hand. You can see the distortion again, like there's no multi-view option or anything that I'm aware of. Here on this straight here, I'm up to 86 frames. And again, the sounds, you can't really hear it because I just have some cheapy speakers that I'm using. But in my headphones, it feels amazing, or I'm sorry, it sounds amazing. And also, the physics in our Project Cars has really improved. I hadn't ran it for a couple of months and was honestly getting real frustrated with the title. And after trying it again, once I got this new card, it's really really impressing me. Here I'm still at 75, 76, 77 frames. Cars whipping by me. Definitely don't notice a big hit with frame rate as cars are going by, like some of the other titles, especially like with Assetto Corsa. Ooh, crashing into other vehicles here. Anyway, that gives you a pretty darn good idea. Night racing, I also have tried night racing with it, and there's not a huge dip in frame rates. It does drop down probably 5 to 10 frames per second for the nighttime because of the headlights and all that, but it still runs nice and smooth. So with iRacing, it's going to be a bit of an unfair comparison because I can't race with AI, and I don't have a multiplayer race set up. It's currently between seasons right now, so but at least give you an idea on what it looks like here. Here's all the settings. Everything's for the most part maxed out, and we'll be running. I don't have Silverstone. I haven't purchased that track yet, but I'm going to run the V8 Supercar Holden around Laguna Seca here. It's one of the more resource hungry tracks from what I understand. And I don't know if you can see that on the left hand side, but I'm at 150 frames, 148 to 150 frames, up to 160. I still have Fraps running here to compare as well, but iRacing has its own counter. I have to say too, I'm really impressed with the new physics for this Holden with the car of the future. Whoops! As I say that, I spin out. But it feels really good. The old V8 supercar I really struggled with that Ford, but this new version feels pretty darn good. But I haven't really gone much below 140 frames per second on this. I have just running around with probably 15 guys or so on iRacing. It does sometimes stutter a little bit, and I don't spend a whole lot of time with iRacing, but and I haven't really tweaked any settings, but you know, it doesn't dip below 60 at any point in car. It feels actually, you know, it looks really smooth, really good. It did with my 680 as well. I mean, it really, if you're looking to have, you know, for a big upgrade in your graphics card, if you've already got a 680 or 780, I don't know, in iRacing's your main sim that you're going to be running, I really don't know if it's worth the money to do the upgrade, to be honest with you. I think they're still running in DX9, as is RFactor 2, but you know, it looks really, really, really good. So we also want to show you Race Room Racing Experience, or R3E. I have not spent much time with this title either. I know it's still being developed, and I know there's been a lot of improvements from what I've read. Just kind of show you my settings on this one. Same thing, 5760 by 1080, and then toggle everything to high. I'm going to put the shadows at medium, since that's kind of what I've been doing in most of the other sims. FXAA is set to on. I'll leave the bloom and all that motion blur. Actually, I'm going to turn off motion blur because I know that's another frame rate killer. Texture quality high, shaders high. So settings are not maxed, but they're pretty darn high. This one I haven't purchased any content for, but I think there's a couple of cars you can choose from. Go to a single race, 20 AI, starting grid position 8, track. Let's see, do they have Silverstone on this? They probably do. I haven't purchased anything. Yeah, so the only one I have is Portimao and then this Race Room Raceway. So let's go Portimao. It's a good track. Running, it looks like a prototype car. Okay, starting grid, 20 cars. I'm in 8th place here, 56 frames per second at the start. Again, driving one-handed, 51 frames, 64. Actually, I tried this a while back with my 680 here, probably about 2 months ago, and it was very undrivable. It's got spun out here. Just mainly because it was so choppy, and it's definitely smoothed out, and I have spent hardly any time in it, but the sounds are really good in it as well. But here I'm dipped down to about 40 frames. It got a little choppy going through there. One thing I have noticed on the side of the track with fans and they're waving flags and stuff. Those are really choppy, you know, doesn't look real smooth. And I'm guessing there's an option to turn all that off and make the crowd static. But I don't know if you can see there in the background, somebody's waving their flag. And it looks really choppy. I mean, even though I'm at 85 frames a second, so I don't know if it's something they're working on, or maybe it's a setting I have in the game, but overall, like I said, it runs pretty good as well, without any tweaking at all on my part. So here by myself, I'm at 87 frames, 90. Oops, you can't really see that, but anyway, so it gives you a little bit of an idea of Racing Experience, which is a up-and-coming title. I hope you found this video informative for anybody that's interested in upgrading to the GTX 980. Overall, I'm happy with the new card. Really notice a big difference with Assetto Corsa and Project Cars. With RFactor 2, there is a slight improvement over my old 680, but not as much of an improvement as I was anticipating. But the card runs that sim very well. iRacing, again, it runs it excellent. The 680 ran it very good also. So hopefully you found this video enjoyable, and we'll see you around.